This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 94. Who knew I needed multiple takes of this sentence?
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramzi Majaba.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast. I am Ramzi Majaba, your host. I'm here with my co-host, Benny Kanungo. I like saying your last name.
Yeah, put a little flair in it every time.
Kanungo. And it's not African. Like I thought it was African. Turns out your heritage is Indian.
True. Well, again, we all come from Africa at some point. So.
Phoenicians were the first ones to rule the world, man. I come from Phoenicia. I don't know. I just made that up, but I'm Phoenician. I don't know
Very
if
cool.
that means I'm African or not, but I'm Phoenician.
Fair. I think it's like where the first humans came from. I think we all first humans started walking and kind of derived from those that came from Africa, and then we spread out from there. And that's I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it. That's just my baseline knowledge. But anyways,
was it when it was on one continent?
Yeah, like Pangea or whatever. I want to say. Well, I mean, probably.
I've
right?
never been to South America, so I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. One day.
No.
Just like your
Pangea, that was the joke about Pangea. Like I've never been to South America. Like I'm just trying to show how ignorant I am.
Oh, I see what you mean. I get it.
Yeah.
Fair
enough. All right. So today's interview wasn't really an interview. It was a coaching call, and you weren't on it. It was just me and Jacob, our guest for today. And it was different than what I'm used to doing. I'm used to like having SEs and interviewing them about how they got to where they were or how they do their job. But today, Jacob is kind of a brand new SE, and he just wanted some help. And I figured we might as well record it and provide it for the masses. So that's pretty much the intro for today. Any thoughts before I jump into the interview, and then we're going to record the outro, you and I? Any?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it was a really productive call, and I think it's something that could be helpful for a lot of people out there. I think for a lot of the people out there that don't really know what sales engineering is all about, and it's something that they've maybe kind of looked at clearly just by listening to this. You have some cursory interest in it. It'll be cool to get a perspective on it. So Jacob, for example, is someone that, he has a little bit of professional experience, but a relatively new professional, and, isn't really too certain about certain parts of his maybe professional toolkit, but is very certain of others. And I think that some of you listening today, everybody I think could get something out of it. And I think some of you can possibly relate very strongly with Jacob's perspective on entering the SC world.
Perfect. All right. So enough dilly-dallying. Let's just jump into the show. How are you doing, Jacob?
I'm all right. Just ready to get started.
Awesome. All right. So, we are recording.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from San Antonio in Texas. Pretty much been here my whole life. I went to, visit a few places, and I've traveled a bit, but I've pretty much been here almost since I was born, except for maybe 2 years where I lived in Austin for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just got a job as a sales engineer, if I remember correctly?
Right. So let me talk about that. I have a degree in chemistry. For 5 years while I was going to school, I was working in a computational lab, and all our jobs were run on clusters, most of them running scientific Linux, and that's like a distribution of CentOS that's more tailored for distributed parallel computing.
Okay.
So I kind of really like that. I worked a couple lab jobs, chemistry, after I graduated, and about a year later I said that I just wanted to kind of try and do web stuff and tech stuff. So I guess that was about 3 years ago when I really started. And so now I just got a job as a sales engineer, specifically a solutions engineer with a SaaS company. So.
Okay. So nothing to do with chemistry?
No.
All right. Well, so you basically have two domains of knowledge you kind of worked on, one of which you worked on your own.
Yes.
Nice. Good job.
Thank you.
this is more of a coaching call today. So what was on your mind? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I just really want to be successful, and I spent most of my time, I guess, except for that year when I worked in a lab, doing my own thing, freelancing, doing a little bit of consulting jobs, and that's one thing. I'm good at tech. I can build stuff. I can secure servers. I can make them perform. But just kind of like the overriding theme, I guess, is that I don't have too much experience with like the corporate type environment.
Right.
So,
So you said you were a freelancer. You did stuff on your own. Right?
yeah. So
how did you gather information there?
Oh, there. I mean, I just basically, uh, you know, gather information. I'm constantly gathering information. I'm always, building things, testing things out, playing with new kind of stuff that I find on GitHub. But I guess as far as like for business wise, I kind of worked with like word of mouth. People I know had businesses, and they let me do some things for them, and then they kind of, gave me some people to follow up on or put in like a reference for me. So
okay,
like
so you're kind of doing the job just as an employer, like as a freelancer, and not as an employee of a different company.
Right. That's what I have most of my experience in.
Right.
Since I graduated 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. Yeah, mostly freelancing, and so we're kind of running the whole business, trying to get, clients, trying to get jobs, as well as learning tech and working with computers. Like even when I'm not doing a job for a client, I'm usually studying for. I'm trying to get some certifications. I have one, the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate, and then I'm supposed to take the developer in March.
Okay.
And just that kind of thing.
So you are a hard worker based on that information.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's half the battle. But in terms of what I meant by gathering requirements, when you talk to your customers, how do you know what they want from you?
Yeah. Well, that's man, that took that's a whole thing in itself. It took me a while to realize that they know they want something usually, but they don't know exactly what it is that they need.
Yep.
Because they haven't really thought about it themselves. So the end, it's just like, hey, like I got a big questionnaire. I want you to fill it out. And then we can talk about it. If you have any questions, let me know. And then, also following up on that, see if they got it done. Try to get that back from them, because it's not that they don't want to do it, but people are busy, or some people might be nervous.
Yeah, that's why I like a live discovery more than a questionnaire.
Yeah.
Because a live discovery, they set an hour aside where you can have a discussion with them, and versus going through a questionnaire. So tell me about your current role. I don't need to know the company, but I would like to know, like, are you working with an account manager? Do you?
Yes.
Yeah. One? Multiple?
Yeah. Well, I have an account manager, and then, I guess my main job is the sales team was definitely lacking technical expertise to be able to position their product properly. So I'm just kind of sitting down all their calls with them, with the sales development reps, and I'm sitting with them, have an account manager assigned to me that I do most of my work with.
Okay. So what's your struggle with? Like, you want to know more about sales in general, or what?
Well, yeah, just, I guess, how to just connect with people better and be able to, be the best I can be at like sales, because I learned a little bit, on my own. And like you pointed out that book to me, and that's, I'm sure it's a great resource, and I got it, but I haven't started reading it. So just with, like tips, like I guess for, a first time sales engineer to establish themselves in the, the company and the environment, and then go on to establish yourself in the industry.
Right. So you have the technical knowledge based on the information that I have. You have technical knowledge more than your more than other SEs in the company. Maybe you're a different position than them, right?
Yes. I'm also do implementation for clients that need things done for them.
Okay. So how do you connect with your friends today?
Most of my friends, I guess, we all do like art stuff, like music or painting or stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I guess, the main connection.
Right. So ever heard of the book what's it called? By Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, I have actually started reading that.
Okay.
Yes, maybe 2 weeks ago.
All right. So, spoiler alert: the most important thing, if you want to connect with people, is to be interested. Right. To be interested in what they have to say. Right.
Mm-hmm.
To have discussions. You know, you can always do. If you're like, you can shadow your account manager and see if they take them out to lunch. You can go out to lunch with them, just talk about stuff, ask them questions. If they're interested about art, now you have something to connect right there, then and there. If they're interested in technology, you have something to connect right then and there. So from a connection perspective, we're all human. The same way you'd connect with any normal person, you would connect with a customer. Especially as an SE, because they don't see us as trying to sell them something. They see us as trying to solve their problem. So we have a leg up on account managers who are trying to build that relationship too. How have you, like, you've had clients in the past as a freelancer?
Yes.
How did you develop
definitely.
that relationship?
Well, I mean, one is like most clients are like, I think a lot of them are intimidated to speak with somebody who's going to be like doing their technology, and they're kind of mystified by how the whole process works. So I try to just kind of like break it, like, hey, I'll ask some questions, and I'll say, hey, doesn't worry if you don't know all of these like terms, or something's like, trips you up, or you can't complete like some of the things here, or don't know what they mean. Just reach out to me. Like, it's not your job to know what they mean, because you're this kind of person and you do this and that, and like that kind of thing is cool too, and we're all smart. And I try to just let them know like that I'm patient, and that I like to answer their questions and solve their problems more than I want to sell to them.
Right. So do they reach out to you when they have a question, or do
Yes,
they just
do.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
A lot of my customers don't. When they have questions, they wait for me to show up, and then they remember all their questions. So you might also have to keep reaching out, not to the point where it's annoying, but every once in a while it's like, hey, we're working on this, or let's go grab a coffee, I'm buying, figure this out, right? It's the same thing. You've built that relationship with other customers. If you become a trusted advisor, right? I've had SEs, I've seen SEs who were like a-holes, like who would make the customer feel stupid.
Yeah, that's what I don't like.
Yeah, you don't sound like that. So you're already ahead of the game. And if it's a collaborative thing where you're working together, you have the same goals, it's easier to build that connection. Over like stepping away from the office to grab a coffee, or to have lunch, have whatever it is. It also kind of brings down their wall, like their protective wall, where they don't want to give all the information. But over a coffee, like, it ends up being easier to talk. The wall isn't completely down, but you have the chance to build a relationship there. And you're going to have to gauge what kind of customer that this is. Is he or she a no-nonsense person who just want answers to their technical questions, or do they want to build that relationship?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it's like a lot of them, like they really, you can tell, I guess, kind of early on, but I've found myself going a little too far with some customers that they just want the information and like that's it. And I tell them something and they're like, "Oh, I'm not interested in hearing that," and then the kind of call goes kind of south after that.
Right. Well, yeah, that's which is fine. The call goes south, like completely south, or like, what do you mean south?
Not completely south, but they just like, well, I had one call where my account executive was showing an e-commerce like type of example that we had built out for demo purposes, and the client was like, "No, like I don't do e-commerce. I'm not want anything for e-commerce." Like, and
Yeah,
like my AE kept kind of showing it to him, and I felt like that he kind of took offense to that at some point, and then was kind of not really interested.
So the sales process is broken at that point. There was no discovery done. Like, if someone had asked the customer beforehand, "Do you work on e-commerce?" he would have said no, and then you wouldn't have shown it, or the account manager wouldn't have shown the e-commerce site. So I'm assuming that was a demo. I'm not sure why the account manager was doing the demo. Is that something you guys normally do?
It wasn't really a demo. It was just discovery. And then after the discovery, the account manager kind of showed like an example to show them kind of like how the JSON is returned after an event fires to like the data pipeline.
Yeah, so that's a demo. That's a kind of a unprepared demo. And the best thing when you're doing a demo is to tailor it towards your customer. So if your customer is in health, you can't show them an e-commerce site.
Okay.
What I like to do with my customers is actually name my so I'm in test and measurement. So we have test cases that we do for customers. I name the test case after the customer. Like it's that detailed. Name the test case after the customer. If there are devices that I can change the names, I would tailor towards the customer. Like everything just to show that this could be your setup. You could envision that, right? So when you're doing a discovery, doing a demo right after is not really the best option in terms of a sales cycle. Like, yeah, sure, the sales guy was trying to probably shorten the sales process, but he ended the sales process and not with a win.
Okay.
And that comes with experience. Like I've done those mistakes where I have generic names. It didn't happen on day one, right? You will learn those, and you notice that, right? Which the best thing about sales engineers, or the best quality that sales engineers could have, is self-awareness.
Yeah.
And observation. You just observed that, oh, we're talking about this, we showed him that didn't work out. Next time we're talking about this, I'm going to show them that. Like the same thing. I'm not going to show them e-commerce versus what they want. That may take some time. And account managers are always in a hurry, some of them, because they want to shorten the sales cycle. But the response is, like, I know you want to shorten the sales cycle. I want to shorten the sales cycle too, because I am also commission-based. But do you want to do a generic demo that will not close the deal? Or would you rather me take an extra day to prepare a good demo that will give us a better chance at closing the deal?
Yeah, right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that's very good advice. Right now, I think since they didn't have these like technical resources before, their old solutions engineer kind of refused to kind of help out in some ways or something, and then he wound up leaving. So they've been without an SE for like a few months, maybe like 3-4 months. So I think they kind of just like put it all together, and they need a little bit of help, like kind of straightening it out.
Yeah, like if an account manager doesn't have a resource and he still has to close the deal, he'll do whatever it takes to close the deal, right? And because account managers are not as technical as SEs, they shouldn't be. That's not their job. They would do the generic demo. Yeah. So they have one e-commerce site that they show everybody, whether they care about e-commerce or not, and that's where you come in. And you know, you could next time. I don't know how fast you can prepare a demo like that, but you can always tell the account manager, like if he's done any qualification whatsoever and he knows what they're looking for, you can create some like rough thing if he really wants to show it during the demo, during the discovery, right? Which, in my opinion, is a bad idea.
Okay, no, that's good to know, because I think that that we should definitely separate that then, and say no demos during discovery. Just make it purely discovery.
Yeah, like, so there is a way to say it tactfully to make it in the best interest of the sales guy too. Right? We don't want to be enemies with the sales guys.
No,
that's a big thing that SE's like, no, I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to say no. But then you will have no influence over the sales guy, and you will not actually take feedback from the salesperson either, because the salesperson is there. He knows the customer more. So it has to be a symbiotic relationship where you're also his trusted advisor. So you're a trusted advisor to two people, the customer and your salesperson.
Right. That's exactly what the job is.
Yeah. Most people think we're trusted advisors for just the customer, but no, you are advising the sales guy as well on what we should do in terms of next step, what we should show. This is the script that I'm working on. These are the highlights that I want to show based on the discovery that we just did. right? And if you and your sales guy get to know each other well, you start playing off of each other. It's like ping pong. It's like a dance.
Yeah.
Or if you like martial arts, it's like a choreographed movie where people are like dancing together. So you start working together and the customer will enjoy it better as well.
Yeah.
There was something else that you sent in the email. I don't know if you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess just trying to, I guess that brings me into, navigating, like, how do you do that tactfully, I guess, and what is the kind of like, the rules to maintain, I guess, these kind of relationships, I guess, that are really important, but are easy to, be at odds sometimes, I guess, SE versus the AE,
Right. Well, how do you like to be treated?
Just with respect and with people, if you're going to talk to me, then, be interested, that kind of thing, I guess.
Exactly. So in the end, the account manager owns the account. So if he's asking you to do a demo that's not well prepared, or you don't have time to prepare it well, you can say, like, hey man, I might do a better job tomorrow if you give me a little bit more time. And if he says no, we have to do it right now, say like, all right, I'll do the best I can to make you successful.
Okay.
Right. And then you do it. And then after the call, you'll tell him like, hey, what did you think? Was it okay? Because I could have done this, this, and that tomorrow. Would that have been better for you?
Yeah.
Right. So we don't report to salespeople, but we kind of have to follow their lead. They're the leaders, right? And it's our job to make the leaders successful and not get into fights with them.
Right.
Like, unless it's a horrible person, that's a different story.
Right. Okay.
But you both have the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Has anyone mistreated you as an SE so far in this company?
Oh, no. Everyone's just like, I mean, they're all really good. They're not horrible people. Like, of course there could be some debates and stuff, but I think that they're trying their best and that they're genuinely good people. So nobody's mistreated me. And for the most part, I'm just transitioning from just an observation type mode to full responsibilities at the minute.
Yeah. So when it comes to responsibilities, like, you ever heard of the book called Extreme Ownership?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is basically not everything's your fault, but everything's your responsibility.
Yes.
Right. So if someone yells at you, it's not your fault that you're being yelled at, but it's just your responsibility to figure out how to deal with that situation to give you the best advantage. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I heard about that book a few years ago, and it's that kind of thing was one of the things that kind of spurred me to really start picking up steam and making some actual wins with my life and getting where I wanted to be, because I think we are responsible for ourselves. No one else is going to be responsible for us, nor should they. And where you're at, it's kind of like you're responsible to deal with that. It's not really your fault, but that's what you're given, and you should be make the most out of it and work the hardest.
Like, I'll give you an example. I work with a few other SEs, and like, if I'm working with a customer and another customer gives me a call, they have an urgent issue and I can't work with them, I can easily call up a colleague of mine and tell them, hey, can you help this customer out? Once I have the chance, if I don't call up my customer or my other SE to figure out if the job was done, and it's actually not, it could be the other SE's fault for saying, yes, he will do it, and then not doing it, but it is my responsibility because I dropped the ball. I didn't follow up.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple things like that can make change your life, just the way you think about it. Because I went from blaming the other SE, like, oh my God, why didn't he do that? Like, he should have done this, he should have done that, to, all right, well, now it's done. I should have followed up. I will follow up for next time. What can I do right now to fix it?
Right. Yeah, and that's how I feel. I mean, they're not going to jump back in and help you if they didn't help you in the first place. And I think you need to cover yourself at all times. So if you assign somebody to do some of your work, then you need to absolutely know.
Yeah, well, it's not. It might not be malicious. They might have their own customers that gave them a call too, right? And they didn't get the chance to give you a call, or doesn't matter. The ball got dropped. That's the thing. The ball got dropped. You can debrief after and say what happened. How can we fix this for next time?
Right.
Or you can, like, I would say, hey man, sorry I didn't give you a call back to see if you fixed if you worked with this customer, and now we're in deep doo-doo. I'm gonna go fix it right now, or can you help me fix it right now? Right. Just changing that mindset from it's always their fault to how could I have done better will make your life so much better, because you're going from being adversarial to actually improving.
Right.
And if you like, it's a good book. I would recommend Extreme Ownership to anyone who listens. But if you don't want to buy the book, he has a podcast that's all about leadership in war situations. It's called Jocko Podcast. That it's free. You might want to check it out.
Okay. Cool. I will.
Anything else on your mind?
I just that's kind of pretty much it. I guess just any like besides the the book that you recommended, was there anything else that you think would be like important for training that's impactful for people who are in sales engineering?
Practice. Like practice your discovery call. Practice the questions you're going to ask. Basically, know what problems you're solving, so you can ask the right questions. So that next time you want to show them a website, you don't show them an e-commerce website versus something else. Practice your demos. Right? The thing about sales engineering is we're not given enough time to practice, but we need to make time somehow. Whether it's starting work half hour earlier or ending work half hour later, or lunchtime practice, whatever it is. Like once we practice and start doing demos properly, it'll make our lives easier. We won't need to wait 2 days to make a demo.
Yeah, or you'll have some like that are, you'll have just a system, I guess, or you'll have just like a system, like a repetition on what you're doing, and so it just kind of like falls in place. Or
yeah. Well, it's like any sports. Do you watch sports?
No, but I'm familiar. It's
music. You're into music, or
yes. That's practice.
So yeah, like, what's a good band that you like?
A good band, like, I don't know.
Well, when you think of one, anyways, like in any kind of art, music, sports, they don't just show up on stage and do the thing, like play the piece of music. No, they've practiced for hours, for thousands of hours. SEs, for some reason, are expected to not practice at all and just show up and do the thing, and do the demo. Okay. Right? And SEs are kind of like those people who play multiple instruments, where you have like drums, guitar, piano, but we have to play them without practice.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about it like that. So you'd say like just like practice it like it's like a presentation or a TED Talk or something that you're going to give?
Yeah, like whatever you find you're going to be doing the most of. If it's presentation, then practice your presentation. If it's demos, practice your demos. If it's connecting with people, then start like meeting with your family and just listening to them, asking them questions and listening to them.
Okay.
Right. Like that's a way of practice. Although I don't do that. If you ask my wife, she'll say I don't do that. So yeah, like find what you want to improve and improve there. And it doesn't always have to be your weakness. You can have somebody else to supplement your weakness, but like, practice on your strengths too.
Yeah. So I guess so that kind of answers that. I didn't think about like practicing, because it's like you're working all day and you're doing things all day, but you actually are not practicing like what it is that's important.
Yeah, well, you're answering emails, you're answering questions, you're drinking coffee. If you drink coffee, you're not actually purposefully practicing. There is no improvement. Like you might do, all right, I have a demo tomorrow, let me work on this, and then you won't work on that piece of technology for another 2 months, and then you have to work on it again, and you just forgot it in the 2 months, and you have to start over from scratch.
Yeah, well, that's actually a huge tip then, because I mean, that means like I was just thinking the other day, like, oh, I haven't gotten to build like any sort of like cool stuff, and then I was like, oh, but I'll be all right, but like I won't be. Like I need to start like practice just like building my skills, I guess, because it's easy, I guess, just to go home and then you're tired because you've been working like all day, like 10, 11 hours, and then not do any more tech stuff or not do any more like
Yeah.
writing and personal stuff. So
Yeah. Like you might have to take an extra half hour here, half hour there. Like you might not have hours to practice
right.
on that thing, but like 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there is better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are the kinds of skills that they totally degrade if you don't practice them.
Yeah. Like everything else. If you like, they say it's like riding a bike, but have you tried to ride a bike after a few years of not riding it?
Yeah,
You're gonna crash a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how did it go?
I was scared at first, to say the least, because I just got on the thing and started zooming downhill, and I was like, "Oh no, what's going on? This doesn't feel right."
Yeah. So imagine feeling that for every demo.
Oh no, that can't happen.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's pretty much it.
What would be your next step for, like, what are you going to start working on first?
I guess just like going out and try to be better at meeting people and strangers, maybe talking to them, trying to connect with them. Have a, introduce myself to somebody every day or something like that at work, or ask them about themselves.
You heard of Tim Ferriss?
I don't think so.
Okay, so he has this experiment where he makes people go into Starbucks and ask for 10% off.
Yeah.
Maybe you should try that.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I'll try that out, yeah.
Because if you think about it, what's the worst that could happen? They say
Nothing.
no. Best case, they give you 10% off.
Yeah. That's easy, but it's not, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mental thing. Like, no one else has, why should I? But yeah, like maybe you can start with something small like that, or start with family.
Yeah.
If there's a cousin you haven't talked to in a long time, ring them up. It doesn't have to be a complete stranger right away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can think of some cousins, I guess. But yeah, thank you.
My pleasure, man.
All right.
All right, man. I'll catch you later.
All right. We'll head off to work now. Thank you.
Me too.
Bye.
All right, man. So this is the outro. You just listened to the entire thing. You literally just listened to it.
Yeah.
On your vacation day. So hold on. Let's explain this to the listeners. On your vacation day, you listened to my chat with Jacob at your work office.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's true.
You have weird vacations, my friend.
No, okay, well, fair enough. I mean, two things, I suppose. One, I'm traveling for work next week, and I'm also leaving tomorrow for a little adventure of sorts. And so I realized also today that I forgot my work computer charger at work. So, I mean, probably a good idea to have that for the week. And then also, I was in the area doing some other things. I need to do something tonight, kind of close to the area. So at least I had reason to be here.
Dude.
And also, it's nice to see everybody. I love where I work.
You just left. Like today is your first day off. It's not like you were away for a month. But anyways, that happened to me. I went on vacation around the same time as my manager, who's also my sales guy, and a colleague of mine who helps me with my accounts, all at the same time, because we all had weeks to spend, days to spare. So we had to take vacation around the same time. I don't know if the listeners care about this, but anyways, they both traveled, and I was stuck here in Ottawa the week before Christmas, and I worked for 3 days straight on my vacation.
Oh man, did you get that made up somehow though, or?
I'm not worried about it. Like, it doesn't really matter. I took the days off because otherwise I lose them. So,
right.
From my perspective, I lost it anyways.
Chip away at them in your own way, I suppose.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter. It's very flexible. Like it's not like I'm not the kind of guy who enjoys taking days off anyways. So.
Oh no. Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, you gotta enjoy yourself. But no, fair enough. Yeah. What'd you think of the interview today?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you that because I was there. I did the interview, and you just listened to it fresh.
Good point.
And it wasn't really an interview. It was more of a discussion or like thought experiment or thought practice. So what did you think of it?
Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting. It's kind of cool hearing from Jacob, who, I mean, I'm pretty new to sales engineering, like I've said it before. And it's really cool to see somebody coming to the sales engineering world from an entirely different direction than perhaps I did. So I guess came from the complete opposite side, where I didn't know the technical side very much at all, but come from the business background. Whereas Jacob was very much the opposite, where he was extremely technical, and then he's making some great efforts to learn more about the business side. And so I thought it was really cool to hear about it coming from the other side of things.
Yeah, I felt like the biggest struggle that Jacob has, and I'm sure he'd agree, is the human side of it. It's like the business side, maybe it's not as interesting right now. I don't think he's worked on it that much, but it's the human side, the interaction with the account managers and the customers, and making sure that he gets his point across without being bullyish. Like, not that he's a bully, it's just, and
not to be too abrasive.
people sound like I sound like that sometimes because I'm very abrasive, very, very blunt. Like to the point where my wife like takes me aside and say, like, don't answer like that, and I'm like, but I'm joking, right? You witnessed my bluntness on several occasions too, and I don't mean anything bad by it. It's just the way I am, and that's something that we in the work world is very different, and we have to, like, for example, I got an email a few days ago from a product manager saying, with all due respect, da 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 da. And as soon as I read with all due respect, I'm like,
Yes, no.
right? And I didn't send an email, but I just sent an email today. I responded today to that email.
Fair enough. Well, that's actually smart to kind of take your time and to not respond with emotions sometimes and be as diplomatic as you can be, which comes with time and practice, which is something that you mentioned as well.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've been doing this for a long time. So I've been in SE for 5 years. Before that, I was like a network design engineer. I had to work with customers. Before that, I was a support engineer that I had to work with customers. So I've been doing this for a long time. But even then, like, I just responded. I don't know if I did the right thing, right? And that's the part that, like, Jacob's just starting. How can he know if he's doing the right thing?
Yeah,
right?
No, fair enough. I think that like, you're just going to kind of learn, and like making mistakes is so important. But then being open to the feedback that you then receive after the fact. And goodness, I want to butcher the quote again. I want to bring it up. Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus talks about making mistakes and growing from it. And so long as you're working with people who are supportive of you, then that's good. And it seems like he's in an environment that supports his professional development and growth. And I think if Jacob asks questions and opens himself up, as he's kind of trying to do, and obviously has made some good ideas to move forward with, to be better at it, I think that he'll find some success, or lots of success.
Yeah. So I'm going to follow up with Jacob in a few months just to see how he's doing. Jacob, in case you didn't know that, I'm going to follow up with you in a few months if you're listening to this. And I can hear my children crying upstairs, so I think it's time to wrap this up. Any final thoughts before we go? We only have like 30 seconds.
Nope. Thanks so much for listening. And if you have any tips for any new SEs, talk about it in the forums.
Awesome. So this is Ramsey
and Vinny.
Hold on. Benny, the Magic School Bus supporter, Kanungo, signing off.
Yes, sir.